The stars looked peaceful that night. From Earth's orbit, space stretched like a calm ocean, quiet, endless, empty. But that peace was a lie. At exactly 2:47 Earth Central Time, Colony E4 sent its final message. The signal was broken, full of static, but one voice came through, shaken, scared, desperate. They're not here to conquer. They're here to erase us. Then silence. No more communication, no visuals, no power readings. In just 12 minutes, 3 major colonies, E4, Nova 7, and Red Line, were gone, vaporized. Over 7.3 million lives erased without warning. Earth Command received the alert seconds later, a bright red light on every screen. Colony connection lost. No one believed it at first. Glitches had happened before. Solar storms, network errors, even pirate attacks. But not like this. Not 3 full colonies, all at once. Not without a single distress beacon or emergency jump. General Kale stood frozen inside the Earth Command Center. The room was full of officers typing, talking, shouting. Reports from deep space drones came in, showing blackened, broken planets. Fires still burning across the sky. Satellite feeds showed twisted metal and floating debris. No escape pods. No survivors. Just death. Cal's jaw tightened. He had served for 30 years, seen wars, uprisings, and alien threats. But this felt different. This wasn't an invasion. It was execution. Someone, or something, wanted humans gone. A cold voice cut through the room. Activate Protocol Helix. The order came from Director Armin Sile, head of Earth's Shadow Division. The room went silent. Everyone turned to look. Even Kale looked stunned. "But sir," Kale said, stepping forward, "Helix is not meant for real deployment. That was for last resort only." Sale didn't blink. This is the last resort. Somewhere beneath the surface of Earth, locked in a vault 200 miles deep, a forgotten project was awakening. Protocol Helix was not a defense system. It was a living weapon, a force Earth had created long ago, then buried in fear of its own power. The Titans, humans, once normal, now changed by tech and war. They were soldiers built in secret, enhanced, trained, and then locked away. Too dangerous to trust, too powerful to control. Only 6 were left, the last of Project Titan. They were never meant to see the light of day again. Daxon Vale opened his eyes in darkness. For 5 years he had slept in stasis, his body frozen in a chamber of steel and frost. As the system rebooted, the light above him blinked red. His mind, trained for war, activated before his body could fully wake. He stepped out barefoot onto the cold metal floor. Around him, the other chambers hissed and opened. One by one, the Titans awoke. Lyra, quick and sharp, with silver implants along her spine. Braun, the silent giant, whose fists could crush walls. Ren, the tactician. Juno, the sniper. Vex, the hacker. And Daxon, their leader. "Status report," Daxon said, his voice rough but calm. The room AI answered. Project Titan reactivated under Protocol Helix. Reason: full annihilation of colonies E4, Nova 7, Red Line. Unknown enemy. Orders pending. Daxon looked at the others. They said nothing, but he saw the tension in their eyes. They were trained for war, yes, but they were also human. They had seen things others hadn't, done things others couldn't. Lyra spoke first. "Do you think it's the Vraxians again? Maybe a rebel fleet?" "No," Daxon said slowly. "If it was a known enemy, they'd have told us. This is something new, something worse." The Titans suited up in silence. Their armor was older now, but still stronger than anything the regular Earth forces had. Built with tech recovered from alien ruins, their suits responded to thought, adjusted to pain, and healed small wounds in seconds. They carried no fear, only duty. On the surface, Earth Command struggled to keep the media from learning the truth. Public news said there was a system error, a communication blackout. But rumors spread fast. People spoke of ghost ships, of planets burning, of something dark returning from the edges of space. Cale met the Titans in the hangar bay. He hadn't seen Daxon in 10 years. "You're not supposed to be here," he said. "And yet here we are," Daxon replied. Cale handed him a tablet. "These are your targets. Scans show something strange, some kind of radiation not known to us. Starts at the destroyed colonies and spreads outward, like a fingerprint." Daxon looked at the readings. "And you don't know what caused it?" Cale shook his head. "We don't even know if they're alive, human, or something else. And Earth's plan? You track, you find, you report. Nothing more." Daxon raised an eyebrow. "You woke us up to take a walk." "No," Cale said, his voice dropping lower. "I think they're scared of what you'll find." The Titans boarded their stealth ship, the Vanta, and launched toward the ruins of Colony HFY. The journey took only 4 hours at warp, but inside that time, the mood changed. They passed by a drifting cargo ship, its outer hull melted. No life signs, its engines still running. "This wasn't done by a weapon," Wren muttered. "It looks melted from the inside." Daxon felt something shift in his chest. Not fear, not yet, but something close. When they reached the colony, there was nothing left standing. The buildings were ash. The ground cracked like it had been clawed by a giant. No life signs, but one signal remained, weak, flickering. "Over there," Lyra pointed, "under the surface." They broke through the debris and found it. A black box recorder, still running. They played it back. At first, just static. Then a voice. "This is Commander Island of Colony HFY. We're under attack. Not by aliens. By something. Familiar. Human. But not human. They're wearing our old flags. They speak like us. But they're different. They don't just kill. They erase." Then screams. Gunfire. The sound of collapsing steel. Lyra's hand trembled. Daxon froze. "Human." The voice continued. "They said we abandoned them, left them to die in the dark. And now, they've come home." The audio ended. The Titans stood in silence. The past had returned. Earth had enemies it had forgotten. Now they remembered. And they were angry. Daxon looked at his team. "This isn't just about defense anymore. This is payback. And it's personal." The stars above flickered as if watching. Somewhere far away, someone else listened too. The Vanta flew quietly through the dark stretch of space. Inside the ship, there was no talking. Only silence and the soft hum of systems running. The team had just heard a voice from the dead. A voice that told them their enemies might not be aliens, but humans. Forgotten. Change. Angry. Daxon Vale sat alone in the control chamber. He stared at the black box recorder they had recovered from Colony HFY. His fingers tapped slowly against the console. He kept hearing those words again and again in his mind. "They're wearing our old flags. They've come home." He had fought many enemies in his life. Creatures with claws, weapons, ships that could crush cities. But nothing scared him more than this. A war against their own kind. Against those Earth had left behind. Lyra stepped into the room. Her eyes were red. She had been quiet since they left the ruins. Daxon noticed. "You okay?" he asked. "No," she replied softly. "I was born on Nova 7. My aunt and cousins lived there. They were civilians. They never held a gun, never hurt anyone. And now, gone, like dust." Daxon didn't respond right away. He knew there were no words that would fix that kind of loss. But his voice was steady when he spoke again. "We find who did this. We find out why. Then we stop them, no matter what it takes." Meanwhile, back on Earth, in the dark walls of the Earth Command Center. Director Sale was watching a private screen. It showed live footage from the Vantas cameras. He had installed hidden feeds years ago, in case the Titans ever turned against him. A young officer stood behind him, nervous. "Sir," the officer said, "do you think the Titans can handle this mission?" Sale didn't look away from the screen. "They'll do what they were built to do. They were made for war. They were trained to survive. But if they uncover the truth too soon, we will have to shut them down." The officer hesitated. "With respect, sir, what if shutting them down doesn't work?" Sale smiled faintly. "Then we'll erase them, like the rest." Far from Earth, the Vanta reached its next stop, Nova 7, or what was left of it. The colony was nothing but glass and ash. The ground looked like it had been melted with fire, but the heat signature didn't match any known weapon. Strange symbols were burned into the soil, symbols from the early days of Earth's space colonies. Ren, the tactician, knelt down and scanned them. "These are old military codes," he said. "We haven't used these in over 60 years. Braun grunted. "So they are ex-soldiers." "Maybe," Ren replied. "Or maybe just children of soldiers Earth abandoned." Lyra found a piece of armor half buried in the dust. It had the Earth Federation's eagle crest on the chest plate, but the eye of the eagle had been scratched out, a mark of betrayal. Suddenly, an alarm sounded. Daxon raised his weapon. Movement, 400 meters out, one life sign. The team rushed toward the signal. In a broken shelter, they found a survivor. A boy, barely 12 years old. He was hiding under a collapsed desk, eyes wide with terror. Lyra approached gently. "Hey, it's okay. You're safe now." The boy flinched. No, you're not real. You're like them. You wear the armor. You bring fire." "We're not them," Daxon said firmly. "We're from Earth." The boy started to cry. "They said they were too. But they burned everything. My brother tried to talk to them. They shot him. They don't want Earth. They want revenge." Daxon knelt beside him. "What did they call themselves?" The boy wiped his tears. "The Forsaken." A cold silence fell over the team. That name hadn't been spoken in decades. The Forsaken were once a rumor. A group of colonists and criminals banished to deep space after Earth's civil wars. Left to survive on unstable planets, cut off from supplies, cut off from hope. Earth had erased their existence to keep peace. But they had survived. And now, they had returned. Back on the ship, Vex, the teamed hacker, dug deep into old Earth military records, files that were locked even to the Titans. He looked up at Daxon. They erased more than just records. They erased an entire fleet. 12,000 people were exiled in 2293. Military rebels, political threats, civilians who refused to obey. Earth called it the Purge of Silence. Lyra shook her head in disbelief. "We never knew. They trained us to fight monsters, but Earth created its own." Daxon clenched his fists. "They didn't tell us the truth. They used us as weapons, then fed us lies." Ren looked around at the others. "What do we do now?" Daxon stood tall. "We finish what we started. We find the Forsaken. But this time, we're not just soldiers. We decide the mission." The Vanta turned toward the outer edge of the system. A new signal had appeared, one too clean, too organized to be random. It was a message, short, chilling. "Titans, we remember you. We've been waiting." Someone was watching them. Someone who knew exactly who they were. The Forsaken had not just returned. They had planned for this day. As the ship moved into deep space, Daxon stood by the window. The stars looked different now, like they were hiding secrets. He wasn't afraid, but something in his bones told him this was bigger than anyone had imagined. Earth thought the Titans were their greatest weapon. But what if the Forsaken had created something even worse? The silence of space pressed in. The next move was coming. and it wouldn't be quiet. The Vanta flew through deep space, far beyond the safe borders of Earth's known colonies. No satellite paths reached here, no patrol ships, just darkness, silence, and old ghosts. The Titans were heading to the outer rim, a forgotten zone marked on old maps as Sector Black, a place where Earth had once sent people it didn't want to remember. No one had returned from there, until now. Inside the ship, the team was quiet. Daxon stood near the command table, staring at the blinking coordinates of the signal they had received. The message had been clear. Titans, we remember you. We've been waiting. Someone wanted them to find this place. Lyra broke the silence. It's a trap. I know, Daxon said. But we're going anyway. Yes. Ren leaned back against the wall. You think the Forsaken want to fight us, or talk to us? Daxon didn't answer right away. He didn't know. That was the truth. This wasn't like any war he'd trained for. This felt more personal. Like someone out there knew who they were, not just as soldiers, but as people. Vex worked on decoding the full signal. He tapped into the layers of the transmission, filtering out old noise. Then he froze. There's more, he said. Hidden code. Biometrics. He pulled up a screen and showed the team. This message, it was specifically coded to match your DNA, Daxon. Yours alone. Lyra's eyes widened. They know you. Personally. Daxon stared at the screen. A part of him had expected something like this. He just hadn't told anyone. Who are they, Dax? Ren asked quietly. Daxon looked down. His voice was low. People I used to know. The team didn't push. They knew Daxon well enough to understand that if he wasn't ready to talk, he had his reasons. But the silence in the room was heavy. It hung between them like gravity. An hour later, the Vanta arrived. They reached what used to be a planet, now a shattered ball of rock and debris. It looked like it had been blown apart long ago, but pieces of cities still floated among the ruins. A half-broken space station hovered nearby, just barely powered. The signal was coming from there. Daxon took his team in slowly. The station was old, covered in rust, with deep claw-like marks across its walls. Inside, gravity still worked, but lights flickered like dying stars. The place smelled of metal and silence. They walked through empty halls. No voices, no footsteps, just the creaking of metal and distant power surges. Then they found it, a room full of names. Walls covered in scratched-in names, hundreds of them, each one carved by hand. Some had messages beside them. Left to die. No food, no help. We survived without you. Lyra's face paled. This is a memorial. No, Daxon said softly. It's a message. He pointed to one name, near the center. Kara Vale. Lyra blinked. Vale, that's your name. Daxon nodded once. My sister. No one spoke. I thought she died years ago. She was sent to a mining colony after the war. She refused military orders, said Earth was using people like tools. I didn't believe her back then. I thought she was weak. He looked around the room. But she was right. Earth didn't protect its people. It used them, then threw them away. The screen behind them lit up suddenly. A voice came through, calm and cold. Hello, Daxon. They turned to face the screen. A woman's face appeared, scared, but strong. Her eyes were sharp, full of fire and pain. Older than he remembered, but still familiar. Kara, Daxon whispered. It's been a long time, she said. I wasn't sure you'd come, but I hoped. Lyra stepped forward. Why did you attack the colonies? Kara didn't look at her. Her eyes stayed on Daxon. Because Earth needs to feel what we felt. Alone, forgotten, burned. You killed innocent people, Ren said, his voice tight. Kara didn't flinch. So did Earth, when it dropped us here with no food, no medicine, no ships. We lost thousands in the first year. Children, elders, and no one came. Daxon stepped forward slowly. This doesn't have to end in war. Kara leaned in closer. But it already has. You just don't know how deep it goes. Then the screen changed. It showed something terrifying. Footage from a secret lab. On Earth. Rows of soldiers in tubes. Not Titans, something new. Bigger, stronger. Programmed from birth. Created, not born. Artificial humans. Earth has already replaced you, Kara said. They didn't tell you, did they? You're just phase 1. The new army. They call them ghosts. Daxon stared at the screen. He recognized one of the scientists. Director Sile. This war isn't about survival anymore, Kara said. It's about control. Earth doesn't want peace. They want obedience, and they'll kill anyone who stands in the way. The signal cut. Alarms rang out across the station. Daxon's wrist console lit up. Incoming message from Earth Command. Commander Vale, return immediately. New orders. Terminate all Forsaken on site. Lyra looked at him. They knew. They knew she was alive. They knew everything. Daxon's voice was cold. They used us. Ren pulled up satellite data. Sir, we've got a new problem. A ghost fleet is moving. Fast. Their destination. Mars. Mars was Earth's closest fully developed colony, home to 80 million people. They're planning a wipe, Daxon said. They'll blame the Forsaken. Use it as an excuse to launch the ghosts. Braun growled. We stopped them. Daxon nodded. No more secrets. No more lies. The Titans turned back toward the ship, but something had changed. They were no longer following Earth's orders. They were following their own. For the first time, they were not just soldiers. They were rebels. They were awake. And the ghosts in the stars had found their way home. The Vanta flew in complete silence. No one spoke. No one moved. The air inside the ship felt heavier now, not from fear, but from truth. The kind of truth that shakes your bones and makes you question everything you believed in. Daxon sat in the command chair, staring out into the black void of space. His sister was alive. Earth had lied. And worse, Earth was preparing a new army, not to protect humanity, but to control it. The ghosts, born in labs, raised to obey, built to replace people like him. Titans were no longer Earth's heroes. They were its trash. Lyra stood near the console, reading the emergency transmission from Earth again and again. The words felt like poison. Terminate all Forsaken. No exceptions. Earth's security depends on your obedience. She looked at Daxon. They gave the order. We don't follow it. They'll mark us as traitors. We already are, Daxon replied, his voice low and steady. Ren leaned forward. You think they'll come after us? They won't need to, said Vex. They already have the ghosts. Earth won't just come after us. They'll erase us. Daxon looked around the room, one face at a time. Then we stopped them first. Braun let out a deep breath. Good. The Vanta changed course. Instead of returning to Earth, they headed toward Mars. It was the next target. A massive colony full of civilians, cities, spaceports, and science hubs. The kind of place Earth would never attack openly. But if they blamed the Forsaken, it would be the perfect excuse. As the Titans flew closer, they picked up strange signals. Dozens of ships, moving fast, no official ID. The ghosts. Daxon knew they didn't have time to fight them all. Not yet. They needed evidence. Proof. If they could expose Earth's plan, maybe, just maybe, some people would listen. Vex hacked into Earth's ShadowNet, a dangerous move. The system was protected by AI walls and kill codes, but he was fast, smarter, angry. Minutes passed. Sweat rolled down his forehead. Then he gasped. I found it. A data log. Video files. Secret voice recordings. Meeting notes from Director Sale and top Earth leaders. Everything. They had planned it for years. The Ghost Army. The purge of Mars. Blaming the Forsaken. Using the disaster to bring all outer colonies back under control. They even planned to take out the Titans afterward. Vex said quietly. We're just another loose thread to them. Daxon looked at the files. Download everything. Make copies. Then send them to everyone. You mean go public? Ren asked. Broadcast to every colony, every spaceport, every citizen. We tell them the truth. Vex nodded and hit the key. In seconds, every major channel across the solar system lit up with the stolen truth. Civilian news, pirate networks, rebel satellites, all of them began playing the videos. A voiceover explained what the Titans had discovered. The footage showed the Ghost Army being trained like machines, Earth leaders speaking coldly about control. Sile's words echoing loud. Fear is the strongest form of loyalty. And then, faces of the dead. From the destroyed colonies. Not enemies. Families. The message hit hard. Across the system, panic spread. And anger. But Earth Command was fast. Within minutes, they declared the footage fake. They called the Titans compromised. They issued a full termination order. Daxon's face was now marked as a traitor. So were Lyra, Braun, Ren, Vex, and Juno. Earth made its choice. Now, the Titans would make theirs. The ghost ships began surrounding Mars. There were over 40 of them. Sleek, black, and deadly. Programmed to strike without question. Daxon stood in the Vantis command deck. We can't stop them all. But we don't need to. He looked at Lyra. You said your old friend works at the Martian defense grid. She nodded. Tara Miles. She runs the orbital cannons, but she follows Earth orders. Not anymore, Daxon said. The Vanta broke into Martian airspace, dodging laser fire and tracking missiles. They flew fast and low, weaving through defense lines and alert drones. On the ground, red dust flew as they landed near an old comms tower. Tara was waiting, armed, cautious. Lyra stepped forward first. We're not here to fight you. Tara aimed her weapon. Earth says you betrayed us. I should shoot you now. Lyra walked closer. Then do it. But first ask yourself, why would I come here, unarmed, if I was your enemy? Tara hesitated. Lyra handed her a data crystal. This is everything. Proof. Just play it. Tara looked at the crystal, then slowly lowered her weapon. An hour later, the Martian cannons turned, not toward the Forsaken, not toward the Titans, but toward the Ghost Fleet. Mars had made its decision too. Across the colony, people began rising. Civilians took to the streets. Defense crews refused Earth's override orders. Pilots abandoned their stations. Engineers sabotaged ghost weapons. It wasn't just about Daxon anymore. This was bigger than one man, one team, or one mission. This was the start of something new. Back on Earth, Director Sale watched the chaos unfold. He crushed the data pad in his hand. They made a mistake, he hissed. They think this ends here. A woman beside him, dressed in a long black coat, asked, What now, Director? Sale turned to her, smiling coldly. Activate Project Iron Sky. No more games. No more lies. Burn them all. A final order was sent. A superweapon, hidden on Earth's dark moon, built in silence, powered by a stolen alien core, was now aimed at Mars. Time was running out. Inside the Vanta, Daxon stood with his team, watching the countdown begin. This is it, Ren said. They're going to end everything, Lyra whispered. Daxon looked at them all. Then we beat them to it. The clock was ticking. Every second that passed brought them closer to the end. Earth had unleashed its final weapon, Project Iron Sky, a super weapon capable of wiping out entire colonies with a single shot. And Mars, now in rebellion, was its target. Daxon sat in the Vantis command chair, staring at the looming countdown on the central screen. The super weapon was aimed directly at Mars, where millions of people had joined the resistance. In the space above, the Ghost Fleet was already in position, their weapons locked and ready. "We've got one shot at this," Daxon muttered. His hand gripped the console, his mind racing. Lyra stood beside him, watching the map of Mars flicker on the screen. "We need to stop Iron Sky, or everyone on Mars is dead." "But how?" "It's too powerful. We can't just fly in there and disable it." "There's a way," Daxon said, his eyes narrowing. "But it's risky. We need to get close to the moon. Very close. And I mean dangerously close." Ren, who had been studying the weapon's configuration, looked up. "I thought Earth's tech was impenetrable. That weapon has a force field we can't get through." "We don't need to get through it," Daxon said. "We need to get inside it." The room fell silent as the weight of the plan sunk in. Inside the moon's atmosphere, Earth's forces would be expecting a direct assault. But the Vanta wasn't just any ship. The Titans weren't just any soldiers. "We'll need a distraction," Braun said, grinning. "Leave that to me." Vex cracked his knuckles. "I'll hack into their systems. We'll disable their tracking. Then we'll create chaos in their networks. That should give you a few minutes." Daxon nodded. "That's all we need. A few minutes." An hour later, the Vanta was speeding through space toward Earth's dark moon, where the weapon was held. The Ghost Fleet followed in tight formation, unaware that the Titans were preparing a strike from within their own systems. The plan was set in motion. Vex worked tirelessly, accessing Earth's central network, sending false signals, triggering alarms, and confusing the ghost ships. Meanwhile, Braun activated the Vanta's cloaking device, making the ship nearly invisible to enemy sensors. They were close now, just outside the moon's atmosphere. The weapon loomed large on the screen, a massive structure, the size of a city, poised to fire. Daxon gave the order. "Brace for impact." The Vanta shot forward, cutting through space like a dagger. The cloaking device kept them hidden, but the closer they got, the more intense the gravitational pull became. They needed to land, fast, but without being detected. "Target in range," Lyra reported, her fingers flying over the controls. "We're almost at the launch platform." Vex was ready. He cracked into Earth's system completely, taking control of its communication channels. As the Ghost Fleet prepared to launch its final attack, Vex released a massive surge of digital chaos, scrambling their weapon systems and their targeting devices. The ghosts were caught off guard, firing wildly at nothing. For a moment, it felt like everything had stopped. The calm before the storm. "Move now," Daxon shouted. The Vanta descended rapidly, crashing onto the surface of the moon. The ship's landing gear hit the ground with a loud thud. Dust and rocks scattered around them. The team jumped out, weapons raised, ready for what came next. "Cover me," Daxon ordered. He headed for the base of the Iron Sky weapon. Inside the darkened facility, Earth's soldiers had already begun to scramble. But they were too late. The Titans had arrived. The corridors were narrow, cold, and metallic. They had to move fast. Every step brought them closer to their goal. But the ghosts were already on their tail. The clatter of footsteps echoed as they closed in, the sound of heavy boots against steel floors. "Keep moving," Ren urged, pushing forward. "We don't have much time." They reached the control room, where Earth's technicians were frantically trying to restart the weapon. Daxon burst in, weapon raised, but the technicians weren't fighting back. They were terrified. "You don't have to do this," one of them said, shaking. "You don't know what you're up against." Daxon took a step forward, his eyes hard. "I know exactly what we're up against." He ripped open the control panel, pulling out the wires and system cores that powered the Iron Sky weapon. The technicians watched in fear as sparks flew from the panel. But they couldn't stop him. Behind them, the ghost soldiers were closing in. The first wave burst into the room, guns drawn. "Everyone, get down," Braun shouted. A firefight broke out, loud and violent. The team fought like they were born for this. Lyra moved like a blur, taking down enemy after enemy with precision. Ren and Braun held their ground, cutting through the ghosts like a hot knife through butter. But it wasn't enough to stop the tide of soldiers pouring in. Daxon yanked out the final cable, and the room went dark. The weapon powered down. The countdown had stopped. But the battle was far from over. "Fall back," Daxon yelled. "Get to the Vanta." They ran, leaving the dead and the injured behind. The ghosts were coming after them, furious and relentless. As they sprinted toward the exit, the ground beneath them shook. The Iron Sky weapon was no longer a threat. But the ghosts, they were a different story. Just as they reached the Vanta, explosions rang out. The ghosts had planted bombs all around the base, determined to take them down. "Move it," Daxon barked. The Vanta's engines roared to life as the team piled inside, the ship lifting off just in time to avoid the blast. The shockwave from the explosion rattled their bones, but they were safe for now. They looked back at Earth's dark moon. The Iron Sky weapon was no more, but the battle had only just begun. Back on Mars, the rebellion had succeeded. The Earth Command Center's signals were gone. The Ghost Fleet was in disarray, and the colonies, now fully aware of Earth's true intentions, had risen. Daxon stood at the Vanta's cockpit window, looking out at the stars. Mars was safe, for now, but he knew this was only the beginning. Earth would come for them. It would try to retake the colonies, and the Titans would be at the forefront, fighting for what was right. They weren't just soldiers anymore. They were something else, something more. They were the true army of humanity. The end of the old world had come. The rise of a new one was just beginning, and no one could stop it.